If I were to ask you to locate the required and optional items on this page, how easily could you find that? It's probably going to take a little bit of work, isn't it? You're either going to have to carefully scan the text for keywords, or you're going to have to read line by line until you find the section that you're looking for. How about now? It's a lot easier, isn't it? Why is that? That's because each section of content has a title that stands out from the normal body of text. Each title is bold, it's a different color, and it's a little bit larger in size. This allows you to more easily identify and skip to the section that you want without having to read everything on the page. And when we talk about headings, that's exactly what headings can do with the screen reader. By properly using headings, you will allow someone with the screen reader to jump to the section of content they want without having to listen to the entire page until they find the section that they need. So, how do we do that? Let's go back to our document here. To create a heading, all we have to do is select the text that we want to turn into a header, make sure that we're on the Home tab, then come right over here to the Styles. And you'll notice that we have a Heading 1, Heading 2, Heading 3, and Heading 4. And as I roll over each one of these, you'll see the effect taking place inside my document. But what do these numbers mean? If you want to think about these numbers as chapter titles, like in a textbook. For example, let's say that your chapter title in a textbook would be a Heading 1. It is the top. It is the top layer, the top hierarchy. The subchapter would then be a Heading 2. And then each section within inside that subchapter would then be a Heading 3. So you create a type of hierarchy, and it's the same thing here. So because this is the top of our page, or the name of our page, let's go ahead and make this a Heading 1. So I'm going to highlight the text, and then I'm going to click on Heading 1. Now, don't get caught up in the way that it looks. We can always edit these headings to be whatever size, color, font, all that kind of stuff is editable. But don't worry about that for right now. Now, inside this document, let's come down here to Required Items, select it, and let's make that a Heading 2. Because it sits underneath the main title. We're going to highlight Optional Items. We'll make that a Heading 2 as well. And then let's scroll down just a little bit further and select Syllabus, Addendum, Distribution, and let's make that a Heading 2 as well. So now we have a clear hierarchy, a Heading 1, Heading 2 for each one of these items. Now let's show you what that's doing inside the document. Let's come over here to View, click on the Navigation pane, and you'll notice here on the left side it shows us the hierarchy of this particular page. These are all the Heading 1s that I have in this document, and these are all the Heading 2s. And it's important to note that whenever you have a heading, it's good to make sure that they are a descriptive heading. You would not want to have something like Section 1.213. That doesn't tell you anything about the content that's in there. By having descriptive headings, whenever a screen reader is reading a document, it's going to read out all the Heading 1s to the user. Once the user comes across the Heading 1 that they want, they can drill down further into the Heading 2s. Once they listen to those, they can drill down even further to a Heading 3 if they're available. But having a descriptive heading allows the user listening to know exactly what it is they can find within that section of content. Now, let's go and scroll down to the next page. A lesson on lorem ipsum. Let's go and highlight that top one, and I'm going to come over here to the Home tab, and I'm going to click on Heading 1. Because this is a new heading, it's a new page, so let's go and give it a Heading 1. And you'll see over here inside of my navigation pane, I've now got a new Heading 1 structure. Okay? So we know that all of this content right here sits underneath this title. That is the hierarchy that's been created. So with this as a Heading 1, let's go ahead and set up each one of these structures as a Heading 2. So I'm going to highlight this text, make it a Heading 2. Same thing with the original text, Heading 2, translation, and a Heading 2. So each one of these have been made a Heading 2, but look over here inside my navigation pane. Why is it not showing up? That is because whenever you use a heading, headings have to be on their own line of text. They cannot share a line with a different style. And in this particular case, we have a Heading 2, and this text right here is a normal style. So let me undo that. And I'm going to go ahead and do a hard return and push this paragraph of text onto the next line. I'm going to do this for each paragraph. So this way, what I want to be headings are sitting on their own line. So now whenever I highlighted them, make that a heading 2. Notice what's happening in my navigation pane. Heading 2. Translation, a heading 2. And now it translates over here. So now that I have these headings set up inside my document, let me show you one more thing inside the navigation pane. I can jump to the sections of content depending on which heading that I click on. And this is how a screen reader will work. The screen reader is going to go through this document and it's going to locate all the heading 1s and read those out to the user. If the user decides, hey, this is the one that I want, it will take them straight to that content. If they want to drill down further, it'll read the heading 2 descriptors and they can jump to that. Just like this is allowing you to jump around visually, a screen reader will be able to use these headings to jump around audibly for the user. So remember, whenever you are preparing Word documents or even online content, use the heading styles provided to create titles for your sections of content. This will ensure that the proper coding is done for the screen reader to be able to jump to the section or heading the user wants and to drill down from there.